So I'm going to say welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today's Thursday, October the 9th, 2025. Yeah, I'm excited about the book, and I've had a lot of response to the email, and I also posted it on Facebook and everything. So a lot of people have ordered signed copies. And
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
Who's the artist of the cover, Jeanie?
Well, I went out, I have a program called 123 royalty free, and I have to buy the pictures. Like I had to buy the wolf and the panther and the two girls and the horse, and I mean everything that's on it. I had to pay for the picture. And then I had a guy with a company called Fiverr. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No.
And the gentleman was in India, and we went back and forth a lot. And I would say, no, I want it to be this, I want it to look like that. And so he would take the pictures that I had and he would send me, he'd say, well, how about this? And we made changes, went back and forth. And so anyway, it's my creation out of my imagination. But
that's great. It's very handsome.
Thank you. But anyway, I'm excited about it. We're getting closer, and as soon as I get enough money raised for the publisher, it's going to be on Book Baby in their bookstore, and then they put it out to Amazon and Kindle and all these other places. So, but it's a pretty hefty little fee to get it going.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah, it is. But I'm hoping to have it out by Christmas anyway.
Great.
Yeah. Maybe even Thanksgiving, but definitely by Christmas.
Oh, that's great. So exciting.
Thank you for pushing, and so I appreciate that. I'm going to say welcome, Michael.
From the introduction, rarely does a book emerge that exposes critical information hidden for 2 millennia, is acutely personal, and has the depth and potential to create significant universal shifts throughout humanity. Healing Generations One Breath at a Time is one of those timeless works. It literally delivers on its promise. So that's where Jeanie starts. Pretty exciting. I think it's going to be a game changer. So, Mr. Terry Bowling, you had texted me and you had a thought you were working on. And so I'm here to see what we can do to clear it up.
Howdy.
Hey, sir. How do you be?
Good. I'll be good. Be real good. Yeah, and doing the worksheets this morning, something that has come up over the past several weeks has been this distinction between dissociation and disassociation.
Disassociation, right?
Right. And so I thought, I really want to get clear, and it helps me when I see things written too.
Right.
And I thought, yep. So I thought, I reached out to you and said, okay, what's a good, we've got the definition on our worksheet that shows the dissociation. And I thought, well, I need me a little tagline that I can put, add, into my little daily work to anchor in that disassociation. I printed off.
Well, we're not using the word disassociation in the worksheet.
We're not. Okay.
No, that's not a word that we really use in the work at all.
Okay.
The word is that denial, when I think or speak as though something else inside of me is caused by something outside of me, then I have to tell myself a lie. I have to hide the truth. I have to dissociate from the truth. The truth is what's going on inside of me as a result of what's going on inside me. So the act of hiding that from myself is what I'm referring to as dissociation.
And so, but we've come up with disassociation in several dialogues around the codependence and what have you. And
each time that comes up, I at least do my best to offer the correction. No, the word isn't disassociation, it's dissociation. That's the word we're using
Okay.
across the board. You could just about throw the word disassociation totally out of the whole body of the why work.
Well, let's explore that for just a minute, if you will.
Okay.
And
Of course.
looking at that, one of the definitions of disassociation as a noun, or it says also dissociate is the verb form of it. A voluntary, intentional act of separation.
Yes.
The act of distancing oneself, the experience is the distancing of oneself from a situation, person, emotion, or idea. Context, a broader term used in social, ideological, or emotional context, separate from clinical psychology. Examples: voluntarily ending a friendship, withdrawing from an activity, or refusing to associate with a particular ideology, hence disassociate from that ideology. Yeah, I see that. So what's happening though is that, and I don't have a worksheet with, all right, I put my hands on. So it's a form, maybe it's not, maybe it's just a form of, it truly is just a denial or hiding the truth. Is identifying the goal is where this was amplified. Okay, and going to identify my goal, then I've hidden it from myself, but it's not.
Well, I've hidden the cause, the root energy behind what I'm experiencing from myself. When I've got mad moving in me, if I'm honest with myself, I got mad moving in me, and here it is. I can touch it. If I have no unconscious dynamic, I can touch it in my thought disorder, blah, 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 blah. But if I go, Harry enrages me, now I've said to my mind, my 9-bit mind that structures my reality, the world that I think I see with my eyes. Now my mind has to receive my verbal instructions, and you could imagine the mind saying, okay, Michael, now you know that anger's inside. Well, yeah, I know. I don't want to. I know it's totally caused by Harry. So in effect, what I'm saying to my mind is, mind, build me a 9-bit picture that shows me Harry's responsible for my reality. And of course, I understand that you're going to have to totally and completely hide the truth from me. So what I want to do is I want to dissociate from the truth and hold the belief, show me the evidence that Harry's the cause of my anger. So I'm dissociating from the truth in my own mind when I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me.
I think part of what is creating a challenge for me is that I'm conscious and aware that this disassociation is occurring. So
well, is a disassociation occurring?
I don't know if it's coming from the unconscious. No, I'm conscious that the dissociation is happening.
Okay.
So is that if I'm conscious of it and I can't move through it, then it seems like then I am disassociating. Like there's a part of me that's purposely disassociating from that in order not to see the truth.
Well, my offering would be there's a part of you that's dissociating from that.
Okay, yeah, this is Rockma too.
And as the definition says, the words are often used interchangeably, so that does create some confusion. If you look at a dictionary definition, it says that they're used interchangeably somewhat. But in this work,
completely different.
Yeah, they are different. But if I dissociate from someone, truly dissociate from, I'm never going to see them again. I'm finished. I'm out of here. There is never going to be any contact. I have disassociated from them. If I dissociate from something in my own mind through forgiveness, I can recapture it. I haven't ended my relationship with it. In fact, I've reinforced my relationship with it by dissociating, by hiding it inside myself, because where did I hide it? Inside myself, the only place I'm going to carry it around with me forever. So it's not
Yes,
that,
exactly.
I've put it somewhere where I'm never going to have to look at it or confront it or deal with it again, which is what happens when I disassociate from somebody. But the beauty or the wonder of the forgiveness process is that what you've dissociated from, you can bring back to awareness through forgiveness.
Well, and that's the part of where I'm experiencing some frustration is that I know that's going on, but yet I'm not
Right.
able to just figure it out
Ah,
and
now there you go.
understand.
Now
Yeah,
you're trying to do it with the number one pseudo solution of the
yeah,
non-being mind. If I could just figure this out, and baby, you're never going to figure it out, but you
yeah.
can forgive as to it.
Mhm.
So whenever you're aware, there's something in me I'm dissociating from, you know that all you have to do is identify the goal that's involved. Who is it that you're blaming for what you've dissociated from? Identify the goal you have for them, cancel that goal, and the whole process of dissociation collapses. The construct that keeps you separated from that part of your own mind collapses, and it collapses in on what you've dissociated from. So now the unconscious becomes conscious. That's the bottom line objective of the worksheet, is to tie in
Mhm.
with that Carl Jung statement where he says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. So anytime I realize that I've dissociated from something, I've hidden something away from myself, through forgiveness, I can start to drop back in, bring that to conscious awareness, and whatever the negative impact of it is, I can begin to breathe off and heal.
Mhm. So this was really coming up for me just more and around. I've been doing a lot of worksheets around money, and money is the object of my attention, and all that goes around with that. And I've even identified at some level the like the one of the core situations where everything shifted for me with money was when I loaned the money to my dad when I was 12. I'd saved up all my money, loaned him my $200, this is in 1969. So $200 is quite a bit of money.
Yeah,
And
that's a lot for a kid.
I was gonna, yeah, because I bought a car for 700 later on. It's like, and so I was saving to buy a car so that by the time I got 16, I could buy me a nice car, because I knew no one was going to buy me a car in my family because there was no money there. There was, every penny was spent on just survival that mom made, and dad never provided anything. So he said, but he offered a deal. Oh, let me hold that 200. He always used that expression. Let me hold that. Let me hold that 200, and I'll give you 250 back next week. And I'm thinking, I smell a rat, but I'm looking at dad and I'm thinking, And then I look up and there's mom on the porch, and she had heard everything. And she's just watching. She didn't offer anything. Later on, she said, I knew it was a no-win for me. If I told you not to do it, you'd be mad at me. If you had to learn this lesson on your own. That's what her philosophy was behind it. And so he
Yeah,
never
that'd be a
came
tough
back.
one.
Yeah, he never even acknowledged it. I finally brought it, up to him at one point, and that's when he got angry and said, "Oh, just things in the past. You just need to leave them alone. Those are all in the past. We don't deal with that kind of stuff." That was 25 years later, and so, but I've been carrying that. It's like, wow. And so I quit saving money right then. I didn't. I've never really saved money since then, because it was hopeless and useless. All that stuff that's come up around that, and all the worksheets that's been done around that.
So what
But
are some of the worksheets, the goals you've worked on canceling around that?
so Mm, of course, what comes to mind? Nothing comes immediately to mind because my mind wants
Well,
to.
let me throw out a
I,
few thoughts that if you haven't done these worksheets, these may be some key things that will get you into cleaning up that thing that I can only imagine the depth of hopelessness that happened if at that point you just gave up. I mean, you were so enthusiastic about saving money, and then all of a sudden you just gave up. And another arena issue spoken about, well, it's hopeless anyway.
yeah,
That's
and the primary ones were around hopeless. What's the use? There's never enough. There's never going to be enough. You can't make it. There's no way to get ahead. Those kind of things, on and on. And that,
okay.
but I'm definitely open to
So
more
that's a whole different set of
perspective.
worksheets than this issue with your dad.
That's what I thought. I feel like I'm avoiding it or dodging it
Yeah.
at some level.
So the goals that if I were in your shoes with that situation and realizing the major change that made in my whole outlook on life, the goals I'd be working with were things like, I want my dad to be trustworthy.
Oh God, I never had that hit my stomach, and it's like, why in the fuck would I think of that goal? Because that's an impossible goal. Excuse my language, but that's what came
Yeah.
up. It's like,
Okay.
I want
So
my
that's
dad to
probably
be trustworthy. That's ridiculous. See, my dad to be trustworthy. I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
God,
I want my dad
what
to
an
be.
impossible goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So notice you just opened a file. You
Yeah,
just
big
opened a
one.
major file. And
That's the one
that's
that's been
probably,
hidden.
that's probably the one that keeps this issue going on around money.
Mm, mm, mm. And there was like, I get these little cracks in the, there's a little crack in the shield where I understand intuitively, and I get a feeling that there's something going on here, and
Right.
I'm getting close. I'm getting close, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't crack the code. And it's like,
Yeah. So
and
some of
that disassociation thing was a helpful conflict to get me to bring this out in the open with you. That's the way I
right.
look at it.
Good. So some of the other goals that I'd be working on worksheets around would be for dad to be honest.
That's so ridiculous. Also, it's trustworthy.
For
It's like, okay, go ahead.
breathe. For dad to treat me honorably.
In my mind, would never ever allow these thoughts to even enter.
That's what you call dissociation. That's exactly
Because
what it
it's so
is.
far. It's
If you
so
remember, let
far
me add.
from the truth.
Yeah, I got you. If you remember, I'm going to add another wrinkle in here. You remember in the early days when you were first introduced to this work, and I did the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, I did not write the words deny, dissociate, project on the top of the board. I wrote the words deny, suppress, project. If you remember in the early days. And literally, I had it revealed one day. I'm doing the workshop, and literally I was told, Michael, it's not suppress, it's dissociate. Suppress is, well, I kind of got it hidden. I mean, I taught that for years. Deny, suppress,
Yeah, there's a
project. That
big
was
difference. I see it.
always on the top of the board. And I was doing a workshop, and in the middle of the workshop, and I'm writing the word suppress. And I mean, literally, it was revealed verbally to me. Michael, and these were the words, Michael, it is not suppress, it's dissociate.
Yeah.
To suppress is just to kind of hide. To dissociate is exactly, you just gave the core and the crux of the definition of dissociation. Well, that thought would never enter my mind. I mean.
Never. I'm looking at these goals. I would never think of these goals. Never.
Yeah. But they're the constructive results that when you cancel them will take you into that unconscious trauma that needs to be processed through in order to free yourself of that.
Dad, to be loving and kind. See, now it's starting to open up. Those are some more goals I never would imagine for that man.
Yeah.
Supportive. Human. To be human. Yeah.
Caring. And each one of those is going to take you into, when you look at how strong your physiological reaction is just to the idea of dad, that if you think about, imagine an octopus in the mind, and there's dad, the tentacles of this issue, the energetic dynamics, what I could almost imagine is if dad were to appear in your presence, this octopus comes out of the top of your mind, latches on, and just slides down over his head and swallows him. That's how deep the energetic dynamics are. And that's the real dissociation. That's what you need to come back into conscious relationship with. Otherwise, those are the energetic patterns that will automatically radiate out and resonate results in your world. Does that make sense?
Yes, what an awesome experience to experience firsthand dissociation like this.
Yeah, you just gave us a perfect definition. Well, I could never even think of that. That's it. That's what happens when I think or speak. And, this is such a great example of it, because that's how far away from the realm of possibility things are when we dissociate from them. And all we have to do to dissociate from them is think or speak as though that's the cause of what's moving in me. That's why I'm angry, sad, afraid, whatever.
That little word, so powerful.
Yeah. And then recognize that you and I and everybody listening to this show, unless somebody's an exception, and I haven't met one yet, by the age of 4, we're so deeply indoctrinated that we were devout, card-carrying, religious members of the one world universal religion of blame.
Yes. It makes me wonder, what else do I have hidden like that?
That's what the work is about. That's the whole body of the work.
And here's another piece. I can't do this alone. I can sit there in my mind forever. And it's like I adopted a little variation of one of the program slogans. It's the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. And I was like, wait a minute. The therapeutic value of one human helping another is really what's without parallel.
Right.
When you get two people that are willing to help each other, anything's possible. But one man on his own is a lost sailor. He's out there on a rowboat in the middle of the ocean.
Well, and there is a correction for that. And the correction for that one is to make a number one priority your willingness to honor truth. And then, what was the other one that needed to be honored? Truth and Ruka, your breath. When one is in dissociation, the way one dissociates from content is to hold the breath in the presence of that content, which in the Greek ideas, the Greek verbiage, which lost the real meaning, would be the denial of the Holy Spirit, the holding of the breath. Ruka, the Greeks translated as pneuma, breath, wind, spirit, and it became some in this case, a disassociated, something pushed out the true meaning. And we got lost in this, there's some kind of a Holy Spirit that, of course, this particular clergy hierarchy has control of, and if I do what they approve of, then I'll get some of it. As opposed to, Yeshua was just talking about your native breath. I'm actually, that's exactly what I'm writing on this minute in Jeanie's introduction. Let me just, I just wrote a paragraph. Give me just 1 second here.
It's the forward, not the introduction.
Forward, yes. So I've just been writing a paragraph that offers this. Lost in translation is an oxymoron. If it was lost, it was not translated. Translation means to carry the speaker's living meaning from one tongue to another, whole and complete, without loss of life, intent, nor function. Nothing has ever been lost in translation, but rather lost in interpretation. The Aramaic words of Yeshua were never translated. They were interpreted through a foreign lens that could not hold their living power. So what was lost was not meaning in translation, but meaning through a lack of translation. And that's why we're working with the Aramaic. That's the whole idea of Aramaicisms, to bring back the full, true impact and meaning of those words. So a single example reveals the depth of his degradation. This is from the introduction to Jeanie's book. In the Aramaic record, Yeshua breathed them. The breath he offered was not something done to them. It was a direct infusion of life into them. He transferred the very pulse of Ruka Kuch, the sacred breath, the feminine elemental force of the Creator, through their nostrils and bodies, restoring the original creative act in Genesis 2:7, where it says God breathed into the human the breath of life, and the human became a living soul. And so what is the Western world playing with? Some disembodied spirit thing called the Holy Spirit that's supposed to be so sacred and wonderful, and everybody's aiming for it. And if you meet the right conditions according to somebody's formula, then you'll get that, as opposed to this was the gift that was given to you at the instant of your birth, your breath, the denial of which leaves us in unforgiveness. The Greeks translated that one as the denial of the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. No, the live breath in you is what reaches in and accesses those places and dissolves the energy that's off the mark, the quote unquote sin energy that doesn't belong in the structure. So joining you in breathing around all that's moving with this new opening is powerful.
Definitely. And I truly understand it's a direct result of all we've been doing the last few weeks, the classes, the intensified radio, the breathing, worksheets consistently. It takes all that to get to this point.
Yeah. Well, you go back and Yeshua said, the gate's pretty narrow. Few will be that will find it. There's a very wide pathway to the insanity, to the insane world. But the gateway is right there through the jaw and into the lungs, and it's the live breath in you. That when we deny, we shut down, and by shutting down, we lock away truth. That's where honoring truth and Ruka, truth and the breath. And then the Beatitudes speak about, take it a whole step further and says, the first Beatitude says, and you want your home to be in the breath, in the eternal forces from the Creator, not your head. You want your home to be in that breath, where the most of us live. We've been separated out. That session that I did a couple of days ago, I think it was on the 30th, I just shared it with someone, where I talked about how the Greeks degraded, or not just the Greeks, but the Latin, the Greek, the Old English, and how it took us steps further and further away from truth and Ruka and getting back to it. So join you in breathing through it, my friend. It's awesome. So how about a mind shift to go hand in hand with that piece of work?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
My dad, comma, an awesome presence of love in my life.
It's too much. Stop. An awesome presence.
Okay, that's the
of
first thing that goes on the right side of the page.
Stop. That's too much. Oh God. And David pointed out that I often laugh when I'm hiding stuff that's really not funny. An awesome presence. Go ahead. Continue with that again. Stop.
Of love in my life. That was always there for me. In all his radiance.
That was always there for me in my life.
That was always there for me in his radiance.
His radiance.
What would shift energetically for you, Terry, if all of a sudden you got to look under the bushel basket that your father's genetics put over him that locked down his light, but you were able to lift that and see his light? Who else's light would you see?
Who else's light would I see? I would imagine I would see everyone's light.
Yeah. And more importantly, your own would be my offering.
My own.
Because remember, you inherited that bushel basket and you spent years working through it.
So there was one story that came to mind about how, trying to figure it out, but I'll throw it in there because this just came up, was that my grandfather, his father, told me the stories of how when he was a boy, he was taken on hunts, but they were hunting men. They were hunting black men.
Oh my God.
And he witnessed lynchings and castrations as a young boy. And that was one of the reasons he fled the farm. He said he didn't want to be there anymore. He left, went to the city. He became the black sheep of the family for doing that. And he shared on me how one time he heard a commotion and he opened the back door of the bakery and there was a young black man that was running. He was bloody and he brought him in and hid him from the other guys. So he was able to save a guy's life later on. But just imagining what that did to him.
Yeah.
And it's in my genetics, and it was in my father's genetics. No doubt. It was firsthand. So
yeah,
that's pretty heavy stuff.
That's pretty heavy duty. And when you realize that whole machine that did what you're just talking about was called the KKK, and without getting into the specifics of it on the radio show, it is today alive and well as a different three-letter agency operating today. Going after brown and black people. It's insane. And the whole country is in need of healing around that issue. So perhaps allowing yourself to do a meditation where you're standing behind Dad as he sees that young black man and just watch his light.
Dad didn't see it. Granddad.
Go ahead.
He said stand behind Dad, but Granddad was the one who witnessed it.
Right. But I'm saying do a meditation where you go And you're there with Dad as he saves that young boy.
Mm.
Let yourself become acquainted with another part of your dad that was
I
buried
got you.
by that
Yes.
trauma.
Rewrite the script.
Yeah. Well, recognize the truth of what happened. I mean, for a young kid to witness that, what would that do to? And of course, these are men who are supposed to be modeling what it's like to be, a real man and tough and all of that. And what happens to one's light in that circumstance is just buried. And the pain and trauma that it's buried in is unbearable.
Yes, my grandfather could not work at a job. My father ended up being at 12 different schools, a different school every grade, because my grandfather, carrying that pain, suppressed, hidden pain within himself, would lash out, become angry, and get fired or quit within less than a year's time at every job that he ever had, until he opened his own company, and then he didn't have anybody to argue with but himself.
So do you ever find that with your own company, the only one you have to argue with is yourself?
Yeah, I was doing that this morning. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Because I've been having a thing. I did some worksheets on help. Oh, why can I attract good help? What happens to the help? Where's my help? Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think you just told yourself.
Yep. I'm driving them off, just like Grandpa.
The line in the song Hank Williams Jr., Hank, why do you drink? Hank, why do you blow smoke? Why do you live
Right.
out every song that you wrote? It's a family tradition.
Exactly.
That's really the whole root of the work, is getting rid of those unconscious family traditions that we weren't even aware were there. We were just swallowed up by them. Climbing back up out of that hole is a pretty big piece of work.
Thanks for putting that in the chat for me.
That was Miss Jeanie.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening, Terry?
Reflecting, I made a couple little notes. One this morning, I turned to chapter 21, and it talks about the has-been, and and then the other chapter that describes the has-been. That's like one of my favorite chapters in the whole book. I've read. I'm on like the 14th reading of the book, because I consider it a textbook and a study guide. And the has-been chapter, it just was so pertinent and important for me. But underneath that, I made a note about hope. Hopelessness has been such a theme for myself. I'm deep underneath so many different driving energies and forces, but yet I feel more hope today and recently than I have in a long, long time. And I've got to feel that aliveness the other day that I haven't felt in years. That was so good. So the proof is in the pudding. It's demonstrating itself that it's really it's worth the effort. And I made another note to myself that there is no treading water. I'm either going forwards or I'm falling back. And it says if I'm not doing my work, that means I'm layering on everything that's happening constantly in the world, because it's always happening. It's always
Precisely.
going on. There's stuff that is so the choice is to move forwards or you move backwards. You're not just going to hang out, whoops, and think it's all going to be okay. It's
Yep.
like that's a lie.
I'm with you on that. That's one of the reasons for creating this radio show, so there's a space for people to stay keyed into it, because I recognize in myself that if I hadn't chosen to do this work, I probably wouldn't have continued it. So, I sort of put myself in a corner where I had to.
Yeah,
I realized
get
that the best way to become a full-time student was to become a full-time teacher of it.
And it's definitely taken my work to a new level by making a commitment with myself to be on the show listening, if at all possible, 5 days a week.
Well, glad you're here and delighted for the refinements and the questions and the pieces that you're bringing.
Oh,
It's
God,
appreciated.
my pleasure. And that word commitment came back up again. We can put a little, another star beside that one. Thank you.
All right. Joining you in your commitment, my friend. All right. Blessings. Well, I can only imagine that that conversation probably resonated a few things for maybe one or two of you. Anyone have anything moving, a thought to share? Anything moving for you that we can support you with? Question. Come on, I can't believe that all that conversation didn't resonate anything for anybody. Okay, you say so. And remember the whole objective of the mind shifter process is that the mind shifter is a tool that through resonance, when we dissociate from something, everything is energy. When we dissociate from something, we take an energy that's moving at a certain amplitude, and we crush it down so it can't move. When you write a mind shifter, each time you write that mind shifter through resonance, it adds energy to that which has been crushed and dissociated from. And it's energized, and each time you write it, a little more energy transfer, until boom, there we are. The unconscious is now becoming conscious again. And so to take a mind shifter, write it on the left side of the page, have the right side of the page clear, and then write everything. Just take the time. Like Terry, for this particular issue, I'd suggest you set aside a full afternoon, 4 or 5 hours. Phone is off, you're in your own space, and just write that one and just get that whole thing opened and cleared out with that, because that's such a burden to carry. And so each time you write it, it resonates the unconscious content, the hidden stuff. And it's another mechanism for making the unconscious conscious. And it's only in hiding that we're controlled by things. Once it's out in the open, it can't control you anymore. Once you breathe into it, it's de-energized. Yes, it still lays there as a memory. It doesn't mean you forget about it. But you remove the emotional, energetic charge to it that keeps it moving as a factor in your life. And then once you finish with the mind shifter, once you've done that period of writing, then sit with what you've written and go through everything that came up, and then determine which tool you're going to use to deal with every thought disorder that surfaces. You might decide to pick up the phone and call somebody with a commitment at one thought disorder that comes up. Terry, with the fact you're dealing with your dad and he's passed, you might intuitively call him forward and have a conversation with him using one of the tools. You might, tapping in to that story of him saving that kid's life, that might be a place where you actually do a worksheet for him as him. So as though you were actually your dad or your grandfather, you do a worksheet for them. And I've seen that produce some really awesome results. For those that are doing the review of the Codependence Intensive, you'll come across the issue that came up for Magda during that intensive, and she was having some heart issues, going to see a doctor, and her assignment was to inquire of her generations about heart issues. And I can remember the day that, when we were doing that and what came up with her and what she shared. I was sitting, I'm on the other end of Zoom, of course, but I'm sitting there in tears. And then she called into the radio show a couple of days later and shared it again. It was just like so profoundly powerful to touch in and have a conversation with, I think it was her great grandfather who had come over from a country where they were starving, was coming to the streets of the country with the streets of gold, and found the streets weren't paved with gold, and that he ended up literally digging a hole in the ground, cleaning out a cave for his family to live in, and the rage, the pain, and the trauma. So it's not just, as Jeanie's book title says, healing generations. It's really digging up those old generational patterns and freeing the whole family system from them. Taking on the energetic patterns of the generations. I don't know, Terry, if I shared with you or if you were, I don't think you were listening to the show back then. It's a few months, well, not a few months ago, it's at least maybe a year and a half ago now, but I was doing a still point session, and I'm laying there and all of a sudden I get the instruction to look down. And I was like, kind of, while I'm laying here with my eyes closed, what am I going to look at? Look down. So I looked down, and all I could see was this vast field of darkness. It was like a bigger space than I could imagine. It just went on forever. And in this field of darkness, there were these small lights. And I asked, what am I looking at? And what was explained to me was that I was looking at my generations and the darkness and the unconsciousness that they're lost in, and that they were asking for my assistance and my willingness to help them to process that darkness. And it was kind of interesting that particular day. Normally when I do a still point session, I've got my phone off, but I hadn't turned my phone off that day. And when I was given that request, would I help them to process that? I very enthusiastically said yes. So enthusiastically that I said it out loud. I mean, I'm there by myself, but I said it out loud. And the instant that I said it, my phone rang. And I picked it up, and there's my son, Michael J., on the phone. Michael J. is in his 40s. We've never had a conversation about ancestry or, family or, parents, grandparents. He had met my mom, didn't really know her. She didn't really know him, but had met him and never met my dad. He was gone long before he came along. But I answer the phone. He says, "Hey, Dad, I'm on Ancestry.com and I need some information about our ancestors." It's like, okay, I got the confirmation. But literally, we can open up and breathe for those who are still lost in that darkness. And when you look at the history of the world, you don't have to watch much of it to know that insanity has been so widespread, it's beyond belief. Still breathing with you. And then you look at the instruction set in what they call the Lord's Prayer that is about aligning your physiology and your mind, bringing it back into its original structure where it is able to capture from the energy field that we're moving through, capture this presence of love. And there's just such richness that comes when it's, brought into, oh, this is what the real meaning of the words was. Where each and every one of us, individually and collectively, falls into this place of alignment where we literally capture the active essence of that love in which we live, move, and have our being, and are able to reflect it into our own physiology and into our world. That we're each designed to capture that presence of love. And I can't stress too deeply the importance of allowing that live breath to move in you. How about if we just take a minute and take a few deep breaths together? Just let your jaw relax and breathe through your mouth if you would, and just allow yourself to take a couple of connected breaths. And as you breathe, look inside of your own cellular structure. Let your eyes turn inward with the breath and become aware of the light that is in each and every cell of your structure. It's interesting when Yeshua offered the phrase, I am the light of the world, the only thing he changed when he shifted that into you are the light of the world was the pronoun. Nothing else changed. We're exactly in the same set. We're designed to be in exactly the same set. And so allow yourself to just see that light inwardly and see it strengthening through your attention. Expanding so that the light in each cell expands beyond the borders of the cell to touch the light coming from every other cell in your structure. And as that light joins internally, it expands out from your form. And imagine that light moving out. You are the light of the world, that light moving out and touching the light in each person that's in proximity to you. So by you having chosen light, you strengthen the light in those around you. And as you strengthen the light in those around you, In a reciprocal way, their light comes back and strengthens once again the light moving in you. And gently allow yourself to breathe into that soft and open space where that light expands out. And any darkness from any generations is embraced in that light. And if there's anyone that we cannot extend that light to, recognize that that's a part of ourselves that we've cut off from that light. And it's a projection of something we've dissociated from in ourselves. Each and every one of us is designed to be the light of the world. And I join you in extending your light and living out of your true design. Appreciate you each being a part of the team that healed the world. As we take this to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.